Morning, everybody. Hope everything's going well. And if you grab a Bible, we'll be starting the sixth chapter of the book of Proverbs today. Proverbs chapter 6. And this chapter, we're going to look at there's going to be advice here on avoiding some of the problems and traps of life. And simply put, as you may have already guessed, the answer is wisdom. Wisdom that is gained through our relationship with the Lord. Not worldly wisdom, not earthly wisdom, while it has its place, but godly wisdom. And in the last chapter, we saw how God, or how the Father, Solomon, taught his son to avoid some of the sins of immorality and of immoral woman. Now in this chapter, he's going to go on and talk about some other types of traps that might get him into trouble. And he's going to begin, I guess, with the next biggest issue. I guess if we were ranking them, the first one is immorality. The next one is financial trouble, financial issues. And so he tells his son in verse 1, "My son, if thou be a surety for thy friend, if thou hast stricken thy hand with a stranger, thou art snared with the words of thy mouth, thou art taken with the words of thy mouth." And so his counsel to his son is to be cautious in taking on debt. In particular, he's saying what we call today co-signing. He says, be careful signing on with someone else's debt. And the words that are used here not only can mean to be a co-signer or going along with someone else's debt, but it's also saying be careful in taking on debt from anyone in any situation. And so, again, he's just warning, and I think all of us understand the dangers of debt. We have seen it in many ways, many places. And it was a real difficult situation for the Israelites, because the law told them to be very generous with their neighbors when they were in trouble. You weren't allowed, for example, to charge them interest. You couldn't charge interest to another Jew. They again. There were a lot of rules that way. But again, Solomon is warning his son to be very careful when taking on and going in with someone else in debt. And he uses a couple phrases here, being snared in verse 2. And he says you're caught or you're taken, and so it's means you're wrapped up in it. And so he tells him in verse 3, "Then do this, my son, and save yourself, for you have come into the hand of your neighbor. Go, hasten, and plead urgently with your neighbor. Give your eyes no sleep, your eyelids no slumber. Save yourself like a gazelle." I lost my place. "Save yourself from the gazelle, like a gazelle from the hand of the hunter, like a bird from the hand of the fowler." And so his advice to his young son is to free himself, to don't get yourself caught in this trap. Go to that friend and do what it takes to get out of that co-signing position, get out of that position that has you trapped in that situation. Go now, he says. Don't sleep on it. Go now. Verse 4. Go do it now. And he says, like a gazelle, a deer trapped, like a bird trapped, they will do everything they can. If they're in that trap, they begin to fight immediately to get out of that trap. And that's his advice to his son when it comes to this situation. Now, that brings us to an interesting conversation. What do we do? What is our obligation in helping a brother? What is our obligation? And we, like the Jews in the Old Testament, Scripture tells us, New Testament teaches us to be generous. Give to them that ask you. Matthew chapter 5 says, give and it shall be given unto you. And that's talking about not just give. We use that often talking about giving to the church, but that's not the only situation that it's talking about. It's talking about being generous. The church letters for brother or sister be naked or destitute of food, and you tell them to, basically I'm just paraphrasing what James says. If you tell them God bless you, but you don't actually give them any food, what have you done? So it's a really challenge for us to figure out where we go. But the Bible tells us and warns us not to go in debt for someone else. Give what you have, but we don't go into debt that we for that situation. We don't put ourselves into that situation. Give of what we have. And again, a lot of well-meaning Christians have put themselves in a very bad situation financially, damaged relationships because of that. And so he's telling us to use wisdom in even how we help and assist other people. And I realize this morning this is not the most, I guess, spiritual, uplifting passage we've dealt with, but it is, again, wisdom from God. That we are cautious, not even just cautious, but we avoid putting ourselves into debt on behalf of someone else. Give again, if you've got, I think the Bible's clear. Again, if you've got 2 cans of beans and somebody's hungry, give them a can of beans. But you don't go out and borrow money to buy them a can of beans, to use a simple illustration. You think about that, how that works in your life, and pray that God would give you wisdom, because it's a hard position to be put in when somebody asks you and comes to you in that situation. But God give us wisdom to deal not only with the spiritual and devotional type things, but the real practical issues of life as well. Have a good day, and we'll see you back here tomorrow morning.